Are you wanting to get out and create some photos, but you just don't know where to start? Well, this video series is for you. Sorry to use radio announcer or TV announcer voice there. Just wanted to get your attention. So for the next several videos, here's what I thought I'd do. I'd share some composition tips, the same ones I use in my classes at Highline College. And so what I'll do is give you a place to start. So you'll get an assignment. You won't be graded unless you want to be, but it'll give you a framework, a structure, a place to start for getting your camera off the shelf, putting it in your hand, putting on your shoes, getting outside, and going and create some images. So this first composition assignment, this first set of composition tips is all about repetition. And so what we'll do is talk about why repetition is helpful in composition as well, and then we'll get on to what the actual assignment is. So let's start with repetition, why it's helpful. So one of the reasons that repetition is an easy way to create interest in your photos is because of how we react to repeating elements. Our tendency when we see them is to want to create a relationship or a connection between them, and that brings us deeper into the photo. So we're creating stories, we're creating connections. We're doing more than just saying, oh, that's a picture of whatever it is. We're creating a story in our head. So that makes it more interesting to us because we're bringing our own personal experiences into the image. So having said that, let's take a quick example to show you how this works, hopefully pretty simply. And we're going to use relatively uninteresting things, although I do like Sharpie markers. It's an ordinary thing. By itself, not very interesting. So let's take a look at that photo. So here we are, a picture of a Sharpie on this very desk. Not super interesting. It's a kind of a product shot. It's, it's not art, it's descriptive. And my goal when I want to create most photos is to be artistic. So we can add light. It's that blue light back there. We can add interesting camera perspective to try and create interest, because those are the three main ingredients we have in creating interest in the photo. We have the subject, light, and composition. So you need to bring more interest if the subject isn't interesting through light or composition or both. So what happens when we have more than one? All of a sudden, that same just overhead simple shot becomes a little more interesting because there's just the mere fact of being multiples of something draws us in. We're trying to create a story. What's the connection? We're counting. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're looking to see they're lined up pretty well. Oh, which one's a little different than the other? So you're going to start making connections, look for differences, just by the fact that there's multiple of the same uninteresting thing. So another way to add interest to this same group of things is to create a more interesting, more dramatic camera position. So this creates a different story just by moving the camera to a different location. Another thing you can do as you're paying attention to repetition is to notice when there's a break in the pattern, when there's something different in the repetition. That creates interest too. Now we have drama. We have something not quite like the others. Good example of this is with color, or in this case, a different spacing. And then what about if you throw in a contrasting element? We got the big fat beat up old Sharpie marker in here. So again, repetition is a great way, noticing it, leveraging it is a great way to create interest in your photos. Having said that, repetition by itself isn't enough just to create interest. Just having repeating elements, you still have to pay attention to the light and to composition. So for example, in this photo of the classroom I usually teach in, there's lots of different repeating elements here. From an artistic standpoint, this isn't a super interesting photo. It's more descriptive. It says, hey, count the computers. There's 24 of them. Plus the place where I stand. You've got the pattern on the carpet. You got some repetition there. You got repetition in all the iMacs in the room. You got repetition on the ceiling, but there's no clear subject here. The whole room is kind of the subject. So you can get artsy though, and using different lighting and camera placement in the same room create something more artistic like this. So this is just from that big picture going to a more intimate, smaller scene, using exposure to create this dramatic kind of lighting effect, and then in post-processing, finishing the story I wanted to tell, kind of this noir look with this image. So we have all these ingredients that come together, and again, what we're going to start with is an assignment to give you a framework to pick up your camera and go create photos. So here is the assignment, but before the assignment, let me just a little intro to it. Assignments like this just give you a framework, a place to start. Think of it like in an English assignment, if you were given a assignment to write a short story about anything you want, where do you start? Whereas if you were given a specific topic to write about, now you've got a direction to go in. These photography assignments function the same way. They give you a basic structure, a place to start, and so now you've got a direction to go in. Something to do, something specific, rather than just waiting for inspiration to strike. Now you've got a framework for the inspiration. Another thing to think about when you're doing these assignments is these are visual exercises. Just like athletes train, well, maybe not just like, or musicians, we need to practice our skills in their visual, their mental, there's a physical element to them in interacting with our camera and in potentially walking and moving to places to create the photos. But all those things, practice is an important element, and not every practice will result in necessarily a photo you're going to keep or put in a portfolio or even share with anybody. But it's still a worthwhile practice. It helps you learn your craft, learn new skills, practice techniques, try different lenses, try different things that you might not normally do. So, here's the assignment. Over the next week or so, that's usually the time frame I give in class, go create some photos about repetition, things that repeat 2 or 3 of something. And this is a visual exercise to train you to notice things that create interest in photos, and things that repeat is an easy way to create interest in photos. So watch for things that repeat: colors, patterns, textures. Nature's a great place to look for this if that's convenient to you. Man-made things will often have lots of repetition as well. It'll be more structured, less organic. It'll be more pattern-driven versus just kind of connected. So if possible, go out 2 or 3 times, 15, 20, 30 minutes each. Keep it close to where you are so there's less excuse not to do it. Remove that friction. And it's an opportunity to just practice seeing, to practice getting to know your camera better, practice to know the different focal lengths you might want to use, practice different exposure techniques. So all of those in the service of looking for photos of repetition things. And then the way I do it in class is select 5 to 10 favorite photos, you edit those, and then share them. I would love if you share in the comments below, share a link. I'll add a link in the notes to the photos that I've taken for this assignment. They're not world winners, and I'm going to share them in a minute here, some of them anyway, but it was a good activity. It's always good, just an opportunity to pick up the camera and create a little something is good for my soul, for want of a better phrase. So let's look at some photos. So this photo is at the Bellevue Botanical Garden. I'm using my Fujifilm X-T3 with the 18 to 135 f3.5 to 5.6. If you want to see a video about that lens, go up here and click on that link. Shutter speed, well, I'll let you read all that. Okay, so the repetition elements, we've got the leaves, we've got the water drops, pretty easy. There was some other messy elements around it, so I got really close. That's why I zoomed to 135 to reduce the distractions. You find that's kind of my go-to thing, and each of us will have our preferred and go-to method of crafting photos. So you're gonna get to see mine. Some lines, some shadows. Just simply compose down low with the camera at a wider angle, 33 millimeters, still not really wide angle. Still the 18 to 135 on the lens at this point. Switched out to my 70 to 300 zoom lens for this photo. Again, just noticing the repetition on the flower, all the little flower buds about to pop out. Keep it simple, blurry background. So if you want to see a review on this lens, that would be available up here. Well, actually, it's a first impression because it's a brand new lens to me. Now, the next photos are going to be just outside where I live, just outside the condo where I live in Sammamish, Washington, outside Seattle. Still with the X-T3, still with the 18 to 135. My wife has some plants right outside, and they're blooming here in the spring. I've added the extension tube here, my favorite go-to get close to your photos, your subject, without spending a ton of money. I love pairing it with the 18 to 135. It just works really, really well for me. And then nature gives you these patterns and textures that have repetition in them but don't repeat exactly, which is kind of fun. Just a simple brick pillar right by where I park my car. Again, I went pretty tight here. There's just gravel and asphalt around this, so it's not attractive. Trying to create some interest through the composition. Light's not really giving me anything here because it's just a cloudy day. So we got to do the work of interest, mostly with composition and the choice of a telephoto lens here to minimize the other stuff in the photo. Now, when you're out doing an assignment like this, don't forget to look around at what else is going around. Don't just have these blinders on where all you're thinking about is repetition and forget to notice other photo opportunities. So this is back at the garden, and this crow was walking around, and I took 15, 20 photos of him, and I really like this, the way he's walking in this, the gesture he's giving. So by all means, create other photos while you're working on these assignments. And don't limit yourself to just thinking in the one dimension of that assignment. Be aware of what else is going around, and by all means, take a photo. You're doing this for fun. You're doing this for you. You're doing this for your journey in photography. So there you have it, an assignment in repetition to help you work a visual exercise of noticing things that repeat and then creating compositions around those things that create interesting photos. I hope you have some fun with this. Hope it gives you a little jump start you might need to get out, get off the couch, turn off the autoplay on Netflix, and pick up your camera, go outside, create some photos. Please, I would love if you share your photo assignment results in the link in the comments. That'd be fun to take a look at and chat about. The next assignment I'll do next week will be about interesting point of view, camera perspective, and focal length. So hang on for that, and we'll do a few more in this series. I think we'll do about 5 or 6. So have fun creating photos. Be safe, be well, and I will look forward to connecting again the next time we meet on this channel.